Sign up to the SBR Network and use your free daily bet points to earn real-world prizes. Click on the page and start winning now. Welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are continuing our preview of the main card of UFC 172 right now with Nick Kalikas from MMA Odds Breaker, a professional MMA odds maker, and also from MMA Odds Breaker, a contributing writer and editor there, Brad Taschuk. All right, guys, Anthony Johnson and Phil Davis. This is a very interesting matchup here. Phil Davis is minus 200, Anthony Johnson plus 170 on the other side. And Phil Davis, you know, one of the best wrestlers in MMA right now, probably should be a substantial favorite here. But Anthony Johnson turned into a one-punch specialist, has absolutely awesome power and the speed to back it up. And so which way would you want to bet this fight in light of that? At minus 200 for Phil Davis, I'm not exactly sure. Let's go to Brad Taschuk. What's your take on these lines?
Well, this is a really tricky fight, just as you said. You know, you've got the wrestling versus the power. And the one thing that has me leaning slightly towards Phil Davis is that he did take some damage in the Rashad Evans fight, and he managed to bounce back. Obviously, he didn't win that fight. He got dominated, but he survived. So I think he can survive Johnson's power as well. And I do give him an edge in the wrestling, and especially as this fight gets into the second and third round.
Let's go to Nick Kalikas. Nick, where'd you open these lines?
Well, it's actually close to where it is right now, 2-1. But the weird thing is about this line, it did drop significantly. At first, this line's been out for quite a while, so we've had some crazy amounts of action pushing the line back and forth. I mean, it dropped almost near pick'em, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, and now it's back up to 2-1. So a lot of early support coming in on Anthony Johnson. The guy definitely has a lot of hype behind him, deservingly so. I mean, because outside of the UFC, he's just cleaned house. So, but he is going against one of the best light heavyweights in the world, and Phil Davis just continues to improve. So it kind of came back up to where I opened it, and I think it is kind of a tricky spot.
Yeah, what do you think that the prop Johnson by knockout will be? Right now, Johnson's plus 170 to win anyway.
We're probably going to see it around maybe 2.5 to 1, or because that is more than likely. I mean, maybe higher, because Five Dimes does love to definitely, give out more value, sometimes more than they should. But it'll be up there. I mean, a lot of people are going to definitely, if they bet that fight and they bet Johnson, I'm sure they're going to see some support there. So, but I'm sure it's going to be around that spot or so. So, and Davis is a very hard guy to stop, though. I mean, we have seen that in the past. Like Brad just mentioned, he got rocked against Evans and managed to survive. He's been in there with some solid strikers, and he's been okay. So it is a tricky spot. And like I said, I think that you can't count out really Phil Davis by submission either. If he does manage to get Johnson's back, I think he could hop on his back and possibly end it with a rear naked choke as well. So Davis has more ways to win this fight, but I mean, you got to be honest, Anthony Johnson has decent takedown defenses in most cases. He's training better and harder than he ever has before. He's taking the sport more seriously. He might be in his right weight class. I mean, the guy was fighting at 170 before. Now he's at 205 taking this fight. So it's kind of crazy if you think about it, but I mean, everything he's done lately has looked great. I mean, Anthony Johnson is definitely at the best point of his career, and this would be a huge win for him if he comes in and picks off a guy like Phil Davis.
Okay, well, let's go to Brad Taschuk. Brad, if you can get Johnson by knockout at, let's say, plus 250, plus 230, and you can get Davis to win at minus 200, why would you not want to take that hedge?
Well, exactly what we just said. Davis is tough, and I can definitely see him, even if he's losing this fight, I can see it lasting to a decision. So, even Andrei Arlovsky, he of the noted shaky chin, he went to decision with Anthony Johnson. So it's not like this guy just automatically knocks out everybody that he faces. So I'm a little bit hesitant about betting that knockout prop. I think if I was on Johnson's side, if I was backing him here, I'd just go straight.
Well, how would you bet this fight then if you had to make a bet here, Brad? Because obviously Johnson's super hot. You're getting a pretty good underdog price with him at plus 170. But then again, if Phil Davis dominates and Johnson looks like he never has a shot from the get-go, that wouldn't be a shocker either. So if you had to bet this fight, how would you bet it, Brad?
At this point, I'd probably go with Phil Davis straight. But if I was leaning towards any prop, it would actually probably be Phil Davis by decision.
All right, so Nick, it sounds like the books are going to get pretty big two-way action on this one, that they'll wind up basically juicing out with a pretty big overall handle, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, from the early indication with so many people being split on this fight and tons of action coming in both ways, I think it's going to be that way for sure. And it is a tricky fight. And I would agree with Brad. I think you have to lean a little bit of Phil Davis by decision. But again, you can't count out that submission. You can't count out Anthony Johnson by knockout either. If it does go to the cards, I don't see Johnson really winning it that way. So I don't think there's going to be much value on that. But I mean, we say it every time, and I'll say it again: judges suck. So I mean, they score fights ridiculous. So you just don't never know.
All right. Well, this is a very interesting fight to a handicap. I guess right now it's a little bit pushing it, but I think I would lean Phil Davis at -200 at the current odds. Nick Kalikas, what's your opinion of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be the smart side because, like I said, Phil Davis is just keeps on improving. I mean, that's what impresses me the most. I mean, the guy, obviously, we know what his wrestling is all about, but if you look at his striking against Machida, he was pushing forward, pushing the pace, and that was pretty impressive. Exactly the game plan that he used. So his striking keeps on developing. I think, like I said, he is going to be the fresher fighter, even though I agree Anthony Johnson's cardio seems to have gotten better. Again, I kind of credit that to his camp in with the Black Zillions down in Florida. I think that really he's taken the game more serious and has just improved overall. And again, the weight cut issues, all that stuff probably helps as well. But I would think that you have to lean Phil Davis here because he has, again, he can grind him out. I think he could possibly get the submission win. And I think Anthony Johnson more times than not has to get that kind of lucky punch in. It's not really that lucky, though, with a guy like Anthony Johnson. But, he's got that devastating knockout power. But I think that's probably his only route to win. So it makes sense to go with Phil Davis here.
Yeah, that's how I'm feeling. I'm thinking if you can get Johnson at like +300 or something like that, then I'd start to like taking him. But at -200, I guess I'm going to have to go with Davis as my official pick.